Hello from Mindset Daily, wishing you a day full of health, peace, and happiness. Thank you for watching the Mindset Daily channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe to support us. Thank you so much.
Have you ever wondered why so many dreams never leave the starting line? What if waiting for perfection is the very thing holding you back? And could it be that progress, not perfection, is the real secret to success? Most people never begin chasing their dreams because they're waiting for the perfect time, the perfect opportunity, the perfect plan. But here's the truth. Perfection is the enemy of progress. While you sit there trying to design the flawless blueprint, life keeps moving. Someone else, with half your talent but twice your action, is already out there making things happen. I once met a young man at one of my seminars, full of brilliant ideas for business. He had been planning for 7 long years. And what did he have to show for it? A perfectly polished business plan, but not a single customer, not a cent of revenue, not even one concrete step forward. Just endless pages of details, more elaborate with each passing year, and less likely to ever come alive. I asked him, what if instead of 7 years planning the perfect business, you had spent 7 days planning a good one and used the rest of that time building it? The look on his face said it all. He had been hiding behind perfection, using it as protection from failure. The truth is, perfection isn't just hard to reach, it's impossible. And that impossibility is a trap. It keeps you stuck in preparation, never stepping into the real game. Progress, however, is different. Progress means movement. It's taking the first step even when you can't see the whole staircase. Think of it like planting a tree. Do you get frustrated because it doesn't instantly become a towering oak? Of course not. You celebrate when the seed first sprouts. You get excited when it grows even an inch. You nurture it as it slowly but steadily becomes what it's meant to be. Life, business, relationships, they all work the same way. They thrive on progress, not perfection. Now, I'm not saying you should settle for low standards or produce poor work. Quite the opposite. Set the bar high, but remember you climb to it one rung at a time. I've shared a formula for years that's simple yet powerful. Your life doesn't get better by chance. It gets better by change. And the secret lies in this. Small, consistent changes compound over time into extraordinary results. Just like compound interest grows your bank account, compound improvement enriches your life. So how does this play out? It's reading 10 pages of a good book each day instead of waiting to read a library. It's saving $5 daily instead of waiting until you have 10,000 to invest. It's making one sales call today instead of promising yourself 100 someday. Here's what happens when you choose progress over perfection. You build momentum. And momentum is a force of its own. Once you're in motion, it's easier to keep moving. Once you take the first step, the next step feels less overwhelming. Before long, you've walked a mile, then 10, then 100. I've met people who dreamed of writing a book, but for years, even decades, they waited. Waiting for the perfect idea, the perfect writing spot, the perfect free time. Meanwhile, less talented writers sat down daily, writing just a page or two. And today, those writers see their books on shelves, while the perfectionists are still talking about someday. The truth is simple. The difference between who you are now and who you'll be in 5 years comes down to 2 things: the books you read and the people you surround yourself with. And I would add one more: the actions you take, consistently, day after day. Not perfect actions, but progressive actions. Here's the truth about perfection. It's subjective. What feels perfect to you may look flawed to someone else. That means you're chasing an impossible, ever-moving target. Progress, on the other hand, is measurable. You can track it, celebrate it, and look back at where you stood a month, a year, or 5 years ago, realizing just how far you've come. Now think about your health. Is it better to work out perfectly for a single day, or to exercise imperfectly but consistently for an entire year? The answer is obvious. And that principle applies to every area: your finances, your education, your relationships, even your spiritual growth. Consistent progress always outweighs rare moments of perfection. This brings us to discipline. Discipline is the bridge between goals and achievement. Yet most people misunderstand it. It isn't about massive, heroic efforts. It's about small, steady actions aligned with your values and objectives. It's about progress, not perfection. Success, I've often said, is simply a few basic disciplines practiced daily. Failure, by contrast, comes from a few errors in judgment repeated over and over. It's the compound effect of daily disciplines that creates success, just as the compound effect of daily mistakes creates failure. You may wonder, but what about excellence? Shouldn't we aim for that? Absolutely. But excellence is not perfection. Excellence means doing the very best you can with what you have, right where you are. Perfection is an impossible ideal. The closer you chase it, the further it slips away. I've seen so many talented people fall short of their potential because they were paralyzed by the gap between where they stood and where they thought they should be. They couldn't embrace progress because they were obsessed with perfection. Don't let that be you. Here's a truth that may be hard to accept. Done is better than perfect. An imperfect book that's published will impact more lives than a flawless manuscript hidden in a drawer. An imperfect business that opens its doors creates more value than a perfect plan that never leaves the page. Even an imperfect workout you actually do is far better than the perfect routine you never begin. But here's what you need to understand about progress. It isn't always linear. Sometimes you'll take 2 steps forward and 1 back. At times, it may even feel like you're standing still or sliding backward. That's normal. It's all part of the journey. The key is to keep moving, learning, and adjusting along the way. When I first started as a speaker, I wasn't good. In fact, I was terrible. But I kept showing up. I spoke to small groups, sometimes even empty rooms. I studied great speakers. I practiced. I asked for feedback. Slowly, little by little, I improved. Not perfect, but better. And better was enough to build a career that's reached millions across the world. If I had waited to be perfect before stepping on stage, I would never have spoken a single word in public. If I had quit after my first clumsy attempt, believing I'd never be perfect, I wouldn't be here speaking to you today. So let me ask, what about you? What dream are you delaying because you're waiting for perfection? What goal have you set aside because you can't see a flawless path? What talent are you hiding because you fear it's not good enough yet? I challenge you now. Choose progress over perfection. Choose action over endless planning. Choose done over someday. Here's a simple exercise. Think of one goal you've been postponing because you feel unprepared or worry it won't be perfect. Then, identify one small step you can take today, not tomorrow, not next week, but today, to move closer to that goal. It doesn't need to be a giant leap, just one step. Then take another and another. That's how progress works. Before long, you'll find yourself farther than you ever imagined. Major achievements aren't born overnight. Consider a skyscraper. It rises brick by brick, floor by floor. Workers don't show up on Monday expecting a complete tower by Friday. They know it's a process. Steady progress, each day building on the last. The same is true for your life. Success doesn't appear in an instant. It grows day by day, decision by decision, action by action. And here's the best part. Your steps don't have to be perfect. They just need to be good, taken consistently over time. That's why I often share the story of the Chinese bamboo tree. You plant the bamboo seed and water it, yet for 4 years nothing seems to happen. No shoots, no growth, nothing to show for your effort. You might think it's dead or that you've done something wrong. But then, in the 5th year, something extraordinary occurs. The bamboo shoots up 90 feet in just 6 weeks. So here's the question. Did the bamboo grow 90 feet in 6 weeks or in 5 years? The answer is 5 years. During those first 4 years, it was developing its root system, building a foundation strong enough to support its massive growth. Progress was happening, even when it wasn't visible. Life works the same way. Often, you'll be working, learning, growing, and making progress without immediate results. But if you stay consistent, if you keep investing in small daily efforts, the payoff will come, often in ways that surprise you. And let me be clear. Choosing progress over perfection is not permission to be sloppy or careless. It's not about lowering your standards or embracing mediocrity. What it means is shifting your focus from the end result to the process that gets you there. A perfectionist obsesses over the destination and feels frustrated for not arriving yet. A progressionist, on the other hand, values the journey and celebrates each step forward. And here's an important distinction. Excellence is not the same as perfection. Excellence is doing the best you can with what you have, right where you are. Perfection is chasing an impossible standard you can never reach. So strive for excellence, not perfection. I've known people so afraid of making mistakes that they never took a risk. They never started a business, never asked someone out, never applied for a promotion, never wrote that book, never took that trip, all because they were waiting to do it perfectly. What a tragedy. What a waste of human potential. The truth about mistakes is this: they're often our greatest teachers. The person who avoids mistakes usually avoids achievement. But the one willing to make mistakes, learn from them, and keep moving forward, that's the person who makes progress, and ultimately, the one who succeeds. When I first entered business, I made plenty of mistakes. Many times, I had no idea what I was doing. But I was willing to try, to learn, and to adjust when needed. Each mistake carried a lesson. Each setback held value. And little by little, I moved forward. If I had waited until I knew everything, until I could act flawlessly, I never would have started. And that would have been the biggest mistake of all. There's a Japanese concept called Kaizen. Continuous improvement through small, steady changes. Not massive, perfect transformations, but gradual, progressive steps. This philosophy helped Japan rebuild after World War II and turned companies like Toyota into global leaders. You can apply the same philosophy of Kaizen to your own life. Don't try to change everything at once, and don't expect instant transformation. Instead, focus on getting just 1% better each day. It may sound small, but it compounds. Improve by 1% daily for a year, and by the end, you'll be 37 times better. That's the real power of progress. Over the years, I've noticed something about successful people. They aren't always the most talented, the smartest, or the most privileged. But they share one common trait. They take action. They don't wait for perfect conditions. They begin with what they have, right where they are. They keep moving forward, even when progress feels small or slow. Unsuccessful people, on the other hand, spend their lives waiting for the right time, the right circumstances, the right skills, or the right confidence. In short, they're waiting for perfection. And because of that, they never begin. Here's the truth. There will never be a perfect time. There will never be perfect circumstances. You will never have perfect knowledge, skills, or confidence. The only perfect day to start was yesterday. The second best day is today. And often, what hides behind the pursuit of perfection is fear. Fear of failure, fear of criticism, fear of not being enough. So we convince ourselves to wait, to prepare more, to become perfect before stepping forward. But here's the truth. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's the decision that something else matters more than fear. And progress, growth, and achievement are always more important than the fear of imperfection. Here's what's interesting about fear. It shrinks with action. The more you face what scares you, the less control that fear has over you. But if you wait for fear to vanish before you act, you'll be waiting forever. So how do you overcome the fear that keeps you stuck chasing perfection? You act. Start small if you must, but act. Focus on progress, not perfection. Celebrate each step forward, however small, and over time the fear begins to loosen its grip. There's a powerful question I encourage you to ask when hesitation or procrastination sets in. What's the worst that could happen if I take imperfect action? Most of the time, the answer is far less disastrous than your fears suggest. Maybe you'll make a mistake. Maybe you'll face criticism. Maybe you'll have to adjust your approach. But none of these outcomes are worse than the guaranteed result of doing nothing. No action, no progress. Too often, people overestimate the risk of action and underestimate the cost of inaction. People often worry about what might go wrong if they take imperfect action, yet they overlook what will certainly go wrong if they take no action at all. The risk of action may bring temporary embarrassment or a setback. The risk of inaction brings lasting regret and wasted potential. Viewed that way, the choice becomes clear, doesn't it? This leads me to something I call the slight edge. It's the principle that small, seemingly insignificant actions, when done consistently over time, create extraordinary results. These actions are so simple they're easy to do, but just as easy not to do. And that's where most people falter. Reading 10 pages of a good book is easy to do, but also easy to ignore. Saving a few dollars a day is easy to do, but also easy not to do. Making one sales call, writing a single page, exercising for 15 minutes. Each is simple, yet just as simple to skip. The difference between success and failure often lies in which of those choices you repeat daily. Do you choose the small progressive actions that compound into results? Or do you wait endlessly for the perfect moment to take massive action that never arrives? The fascinating thing about the slight edge is that its effects aren't visible at first. The person who reads 10 pages a day doesn't look any smarter than the one who doesn't read. The person saving a few dollars daily doesn't appear wealthier than the one who saves nothing. The person exercising 15 minutes a day doesn't seem healthier than the one sitting on the couch, at least, not right away. Over time, those small differences in daily habits create an enormous gap in results. That's the true power of progress. It may be invisible at first, but with enough time, it becomes undeniable. This brings us to another key part of the progress over perfection mindset: the importance of starting before you feel ready. Most people never begin because they're waiting to feel confident, prepared, fully ready. But here's the secret. That feeling of readiness usually comes after you start, not before. Think about learning to ride a bike. No amount of reading, planning, or mental rehearsal can make you completely ready for that shaky first ride. You have to get on the bike and pedal. As you practice, stumble, fall, and get back up, you slowly build the confidence and skill that make you feel prepared. The same principle applies everywhere in life. You don't wait for confidence to act. You act first, and confidence follows. You don't achieve complete understanding and then begin. You begin, and understanding develops along the way. You don't eliminate every risk or all uncertainty before starting. You move forward despite them, learning to manage as you go. In short, don't wait until you're ready to start. Start so that you can become ready. Over the years, I've met so many people who were always getting ready to get ready. They were preparing to prepare, planning to plan, forever stuck in the preliminary stages, never actually stepping into the game. Don't let that be you. Some of you might wonder, but Jim, isn't planning important? And the answer is yes, absolutely. Planning is essential, but it should be a springboard to action, not a substitute for it. The purpose of planning is to clarify your direction and outline the first steps, not to remove all uncertainty or guarantee flawless execution. I like to say, a good plan today is better than a perfect plan tomorrow. Why? Because you can start acting on a good plan today. You can make progress today. You can learn from experience today. And tomorrow, with the lessons you've gained, you'll be able to create an even better plan. This leads to another key principle: the value of iteration. Iteration is about continuous improvement based on feedback and experience. It's the opposite of trying to perfect everything before you begin. Think about how technology companies operate. They don't wait until a product is flawless before launch. They release a minimum viable product, put it into the world, gather feedback, and refine it. Each version improves, not because perfection was reached, but because progress was embraced. You can apply the same method to your own goals and projects. Don't wait until your business plan, your book, your presentation, your workout routine, or your budget is perfect. Create version 1.0, put it into action, gather feedback, then refine it into version 1.1, 1.2, and so on. This iterative approach offers several advantages. First, it gets you moving quickly, which builds momentum. Second, it lets you learn from real-world experience instead of endless theory. Third, it keeps you flexible and adaptable, which is essential in a fast-changing world. And fourth, it shifts your focus from perfection to progress, which is a far more motivating and sustainable mindset. That last point is critical. A progress-oriented mindset is always more sustainable than a perfection-oriented one. Why? Because progress is attainable, perfection is not. When you aim for progress, you experience daily wins and steady growth. When you aim for perfection, you set yourself up for constant frustration. Consider how this plays out in real life. Someone trying to lose weight with a perfection mindset might say, "I have to follow this diet flawlessly. I can never slip. I must work out intensively every single day." But what happens the moment they fall short of this impossible standard? They feel like a failure, and discouragement takes over. Perfectionists often give up when they fall short. But someone focused on progress thinks differently. I'll make better food choices most of the time. I'll be more active than I was yesterday. I'll celebrate each pound lost, each healthy habit formed. And when they slip up, as everyone does, they see it as a temporary setback, not total failure. They adjust their course and keep moving forward. Which approach is more likely to lead to lasting change? I've seen this pattern in every area of life: business, relationships, personal growth. Perfectionists start strong, but burn out quickly. Progressionists may start smaller, but they keep going day after day. And in the long run, it's not even close. Progressionists always win. So if progress truly is better than perfection, how do you shift toward a progress-oriented mindset? Let me share a few practical strategies. First, focus on systems rather than goals. A goal is the outcome you want, but a system is the process that makes it happen. When you focus only on the goal, you're constantly judging yourself by whether you've reached perfection. When you focus on the system, your attention shifts to the daily actions that create success. For instance, if your goal is to write a book, your system might be writing 500 words each day. If your goal is to lose 30 pounds, your system might be walking 30 minutes daily and adding vegetables to every meal. If your goal is to build a successful business, your system might be having 5 sales conversations each day. By focusing on the system, the daily actions that represent progress, you shift your attention away from the discouraging gap between where you are and where you want to be, and instead focus on what you can control right now. That shift is empowering. Second, break big goals into smaller, manageable steps. A journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step, but it continues with another and another. Progress comes from steady steps, not trying to leap the entire distance at once. By breaking a big goal into smaller pieces, you make progress visible and achievements more frequent. Instead of waiting months or years to celebrate one ultimate outcome, you celebrate each step along the way. That positive reinforcement keeps you motivated and engaged. Third, measure your progress. As the saying goes, what gets measured gets managed. Tracking your progress makes it visible and concrete. It creates proof of advancement, which is especially motivating when times get tough. You can do this in many ways. By keeping a journal, using a habit tracking app, taking regular assessments, or simply reflecting at the end of each day or week on what you've accomplished. The method you choose matters less than the habit of regularly reflecting and acknowledging your progress. Fourth, celebrate your wins, no matter how small. Every step forward deserves recognition. Each bit of progress is a victory. By celebrating small wins, you create positive associations with the very actions that drive progress, making it far more likely you'll continue. Celebration doesn't need to be elaborate. It can be as simple as acknowledging your progress to yourself, sharing it with a supportive friend, or giving yourself a small reward. What matters is recognizing and appreciating your forward movement. Fifth, learn to embrace imperfection. This may be the hardest strategy of all, especially if you've been conditioned to chase perfection. But it's also the most freeing. When you accept that imperfection is both inevitable and valuable, you break free from the paralysis of perfectionism. Embracing imperfection doesn't mean lowering your standards. It means realizing that the path to excellence is paved with imperfect attempts. It means valuing progress over flawlessness, being willing to start as a beginner, to be vulnerable, to make mistakes in public. It's about choosing courage over comfort. Let me share a powerful metaphor that illustrates this. Think of a rocket headed to the moon. Do you know how much time that rocket spends perfectly on course? Only about 2 to 3%. The rest of the time, it's off course, constantly making adjustments to get back on track. But here's the key. Even though the rocket is off course 97 to 98% of the time, it still reaches the moon. How? By constantly monitoring its position and making small corrections. Success doesn't come from perfect navigation, but from consistent progress toward the target. Your journey works the same way. You won't move in a perfect straight line from where you are to where you want to be. You'll drift off course, make mistakes, and face unexpected obstacles. But if you keep tracking your progress and making adjustments, you'll eventually reach your destination. The perfectionist gets discouraged and quits when they realize they're off course. The progressionist expects detours and builds adjustment into the process. There's another truth about progress that might surprise you. It's rarely linear. We often picture it as a steady upward climb, with each day bringing slightly more progress than the last. But real life doesn't work that way. Progress often follows what's known as an S-curve. At first, growth is slow while you're learning the basics. Then comes a phase of rapid improvement as momentum and expertise build. Eventually, progress levels off into a plateau as you near mastery. Understanding this curve helps you stay motivated when growth feels slow. If you're in the early stage, remember those small, steady efforts are laying the foundation for a breakthrough later. If you find yourself in the plateau stage, it may be time to set new challenges and begin a fresh S-curve. The key is to keep moving forward, even when progress feels slow or invisible. Think back to the bamboo tree. Real growth often happens underground, hidden from view, long before it becomes visible to the world. Let me leave you with a few final thoughts on why progress is better than perfection. First, perfection is subjective and often arbitrary. What looks perfect to you might appear flawed to someone else, and the reverse is also true. Progress, however, is objective. You can measure it, track it, and see it unfold. It's real. Second, understand that the pursuit of perfection usually stems from a desire for approval or a fear of criticism. But true fulfillment doesn't come from meeting someone else's standards. It comes from knowing you are growing, learning, and making progress toward your own definition of success. Third, embracing progress over perfection isn't only about reaching goals more effectively. It's also about enjoying the journey more fully. When you focus on progress, you experience joy and satisfaction in each step forward, instead of postponing all happiness until some distant, impossible ideal is reached. And finally, remember this: perfection is a destination, but progress is a journey. And life itself is a journey, not a destination. When you embrace progress over perfection, you align with the very nature of life, constant growth and change. So I challenge you today: release the need to be perfect and embrace the power of progress. Take that first step, then another and another. Celebrate each bit of advancement. Learn from your mistakes, adjust your course, and keep moving forward. Because in the end, it's not about being perfect. It's about being better today than you were yesterday. It's about growth, learning, and becoming the best version of yourself one step at a time. Progress is better than perfection. It's more achievable, more sustainable, more enjoyable, and ultimately, more effective. So choose progress, choose action, choose growth, and watch your life transform. Not in a single night, but day by day, step by step, until one day you look back in awe at how far you've come. Thank you for watching. Wishing you health, happiness, and remember to subscribe to my channel, Mindset Daily.